Hello and welcome to Fire in the Belly. Today we have today's boardroom talks and we're here with three authors in total, but the two author guests that we have today. So we have Therese O'Connor and we have Vivian McKinnon. Good morning.
Good morning, Pete. Good morning, Vivian.
Good morning, guys. How are you doing?
Great to have you both on. So there's a book coming out and the book is called BeLIFE or BeLIEf, and you are both authors. So we'll start in no particular order. Therese, talk to us about the book. You are now an author and tell us how it's been for you.
Yeah, it's one of my, everyone has a bucket list and I certainly have one, and this was top of my bucket list for many long time, to write a book. And I tried many times and failed many times. So when the opportunity came at the beginning of this year to write a book, but write a book on empowerment and beliefs and my limiting set beliefs, this was not only something for me to tick off as a bucket list, but also part of my personal growth, because as I wrote the chapter, I grew and started to realize my journey and how I've grown in my journey and my chapter is all about limiting self-beliefs and how it's influenced me throughout my life. So this has been not only a tick on my bucket list, but also a huge part of my personal growth journey. So yeah, it's been a great privilege to be part of this with 21 other people as well. Has been brilliant. Yeah.
Awesome. And what about you, Vivian, then? How's it been for you?
Yeah, it's been great. And like as Therese says, you know, I've had it on my bucket list since I was a little girl. And I remember when I was a little girl writing stories and poems and, you know, and just having this, one day I'm going to have a book, and really, really wanting to write a book. And the amount of people I speak to that are like, oh my goodness, you should write a book about your life. But it's just having that knowledge and understanding of the process and, you know, like how do you go about it? And it can be quite an overwhelming thing. So I was really honoured to be asked to contribute to this book. And, you know, selfishly, I thought, do you know what, I could really learn from Donna, who's guided us through this process, and really look at a structure and really use this experience. I think if life's taught me anything, is that it's all about experience, it's all about learning. And I just thought, do you know what, and then when I seen everybody else that was involved, I was like, what a cool bunch of people to be involved in. So yeah, so it was really to learn more about each one of the other authors and learn more about myself.
So with that, Vivian, I mean, have you learned as you've gone through the process? Has it been a sort of a journey of exposure, if you like?
I think for me, it's been like, and I've chatted to you lots, Pete, and I've written lots of different things, and I think writing the journey and writing everything down and seeing it on paper, and in the book I've written about a process that I developed for myself, and I remember writing that process and thinking, goodness, I've done this as something for me. I've done this as my own kind of step to get from where I was to where I wanted to be. And writing that down, it was just the power of, I can see how this is going to help other people. I can see how this I know what it done for me. But writing it as a process, I was like, there'll be people that'll look at this and go, that's actually quite exciting. Or they'll go, that makes sense. And that was really exciting for me. It was really exciting knowing that what I was writing was going to inspire people who read the book.
And that's an interesting point, Vivian. I mean, what was your intention with this?
My intention with the book was to get experience of writing a book. My intention with the book was to get my story out there in a way that I hadn't already been told, because I do quite a bit of public speaking, and but when I'm doing it, it's always somebody else's agenda, and it's always to fit someone else's aims and objectives. Where writing this was kind of like, right, I can go back and I can start where I want, I can include what I want, and then I can finish up where I like, you know, and I can put whatever. It's one chapter, and it was how do I condense that information? So my intention was to really challenge myself to see if I could get across the key points that I thought would inspire other people in a way that was coherent and in a way that let people get a real feel of what it was that I was talking about.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And Therese, what about you? What was your intention for writing the book?
My first intention, I suppose, really was to prove to myself that I could write a chapter, and a high quality chapter in a book. Because one thing that comes very apparent in my chapter when it's out and people read it is that I'm always the one person who knocks me is me. And I'm always, when I get about 70% at something, I'm going, I can't do this. There's going to be failure. And I always, not all the time, but most of the time, don't achieve it. So this was, as I said earlier, part of my personal journey. It was, the main intention was to prove to myself I could do it. And also another intention is to open up another chapter in my life to see where I'm going to go next. Once this book is out, my story is out, it's opening up, it's getting me think. I have thought about my journey quite a lot in this process. And when I was asked to write this chapter in this book, I was kind of going, what do I have to say? Well, I've come from which I have come from a fantastic family background. I wanted for nothing all my life. What's my story? What do I have to say to people? And I'll be honest, I questioned that quite a lot. And now after writing this chapter, I realized what I do have is relevant to every single person probably out there and listening. Is I have struggled with my busy mind. Vivian knows me quite well now, and she knows that I have the most craziest mind, running at 150 miles an hour. And while some of that is quite good, while some of that is the doing and the planning and the action mode, a lot of it sneaks in at times is the lack of self-belief, the lack of doubt, the external influences of what other people might think and say. That probably has stopped me quite a lot in my life. There's no probably, it has. And it's one of the reasons I say it in the chapter. I've taken the scenic route to where I am today because of all that. And now I've realized that what I'm probably going through, what I have gone through, is what nearly everybody goes through. So I have a story there that's relevant to probably everybody, 99% of people out there. And when I was writing this chapter, what really came evident to me is I have a lot of tips put in my chapter, things that I have added in, little bit like what Vivian said. She has a process that she has brought into her life. I have probably done that too, and I didn't realize it until I started putting pen to paper, all the different tips and tricks and actions that I have put into my life to try and stop the limiting beliefs and the busy mind taking control, the emotions taking control of my life. Now, look, it does still happen. It happens every so often, but now I'm able to manage it an awful lot better. And my chapter is full of tips and tricks and actions and steps and processes that I have learned along the way to help me manage that now I realize it's 99% of people out there.
Mm. What are the key things that you focus in on then, Therese? I mean, what when you talk about the hints and tips, what are the typical behaviors that people would see and recognize?
We're very much led by our emotions. And most of the thoughts that come into our mind is led by emotion. So now one of the key tips that I do is that I write it down, but I try to identify the facts versus the emotions. So if I have a thought about something, I only recently went self-employed in the last 6 to 7 months. So obviously a lot of doubt and fear and everything went around about that. And for me to kind of get to where I am, I had to put it on paper. I had to document every single thought, action, fact that came up about that subject. And when you write it down and you put either F beside it for fact or E beside it for emotion, what I find when I do that activity is 90% of it is fact. So I let the facts then take control, because I read a great book. I don't know if you've ever read it, The Mind Management System, about the chimp paradox. And the chimp part of our brain, which is all about emotions, while it's a smaller part of our brain, it takes up it's 4 times more powerful than the human. So, which is the facts and the logics. So by writing things down, the first thing I always do now is write it down to determine what is the fact around it, and not the emotion. And I lead by the fact and not the emotion as best as I can. Some days that doesn't happen, but as best as I can. So that's the one key thing. And the second key thing is I try and only focus on what I can control and not what's out of my control.
No, there's a lot. I mean, obviously in today's environment, there's a lot going on that's potentially outside of our control. So it's very, very poignant. So what about you, Vivian? I mean, what areas do you sort of specialize in, and sort of do you think people are going to gain from the most?
I mean, my area of specialty in terms of work and the career path that I'm on is, helping people to use the skills and the tools in the life they have to create the life they desire, because I firmly believe everything you need to get to where you want is within you already. You're just using it in a way that is less than productive for the outcomes that you want. So we sometimes, if we back ourselves into a corner and ensure that our anxiety keeps being driven, and we ensure that our lack of self-belief, we should ensure that our confidence keeps telling us how we can't and shouldn't and have to do all these different things, then that's inevitably how we're going to feel and what we're going to do. And you know, it was interesting with Therese saying about the emotional and the facts kind of mind. Do you know, I look at it as the emotion and then the rational, and then there's that lovely part in the middle where you can be emotional about things, but you can use that rational part of your mind. You can allow that synchronization of both sides of the mind, and you end up in this really lovely wise place. And it's where you can be very in tune with how things are for you at that moment in time, but you can problem solve and you can be solution focused and you can look out to the future and based on how you're feeling at this present moment in time. Because I mean, that's why it's called the present, is because it's a gift. It's a gift that you give to yourself. So suppose I in work specialise in working with trauma and addiction, with my real niche being in working with the adult children of substance misuse parents, because I believe there's a huge disconnection when as a child you feel that the place that you have to call home, that should be your place of safety, is actually one of the places that's one of the most confusing places that you spend your time. And then as an adult, you just spend all your time trying to fit in. You find friends that you think that you want to fit in with. You find a job where you think you fit in, but you never really fit in anywhere, because if you don't have a sense of belonging, then you're always just looking for where you fit in. So I believe the magic is within us all. I believe we just have the strategies and the tools running in an area of our life that it would be more effective should we choose to take these tips and tools and strategies and put them into the things that we want. Because there's a thing called our meta programs, and one of our biggest meta programs is our motivation. Are we motivated by the things we do want, or are we motivated by the things we don't want? And for a lot of us, we look into the past and we say, well, I don't want that to happen again. And I'm not going to let somebody do that to me. And I am never going back into a job like that. And I'm never having a relationship like that. Rather is actually turning ourselves around, being focused and present in the moment and kind of going, what do I want? And really visualizing what would life be like if. And that's a huge 2 words, what if, the most powerful words, because the unconscious mind goes, oh, what if? And I'll start to give you the solutions that you would like to have.
You know, it makes a lot of sense. And how do you think the book fits in today's world then?
Today's crazy world, you surely mean, Pete. I think we've all just been through, do you know, we need 4 things in order for us to encode and experience an event as a trauma. We need to have an event. We need to give that event meaning based on the landscape of the brain. The landscape of the brain can be one of 2 things. It can be vulnerable or it can be resilient. If we have a resilient landscape of the brain, then it means that we can stop and kind of go, hang on a minute, what does this actually mean to me? Right, how can I get from where I am now to where I need to be? Right, well, what I could do is, if our landscape of the brain is vulnerable, we stop, we become almost stunted in that arrested development at that moment in time and go, and we hold our breath and we can't think, and then our mind goes a million different directions. At that point, we have a perceived sense of being trapped, a perceived sense of inescapability from that moment. When you have the 4 components together, there's a perfect recipe for trauma. It's also the perfect trigger for something previously that could have enabled you to feel trapped. And I think what we've all just been through together in this last year, and a lot of us, and everyone's talking about, we're all in this together, but see, when it comes to the psyche of the actual person, we feel so alone. We've been told to stay away from everybody. We've been told to self-isolate. We've been told to socially distance. We've been told all these things. And I think for a lot of people, they're really struggling because of that experience. So I think this book has just came at the absolute perfect time, because giving people that bit of hope, giving people that way of, you know, just looking through pages. I know myself, there's nothing like, for me, it's a really therapeutic process to sit and go through a book. And sometimes I'll read a whole page and then I go back and I'm like, wow, what did that actually say? And I think for so many people, it'll take them a while to read this book, because I just know the contents of it is going to be so motivating, but also almost like I can just see people, light bulbs going on off on above people's heads throughout reading this book. So I think in terms of timing of it, it's perfectly timed.
And what about you, for you, Therese? I mean, where do you see this book being placed in today's world?
Well, this is 21 real life stories, and I like to call it 360-degree focus on life. It's covered every angle of everything that can possibly go on in the world at the moment and in life. And it's all areas of life. And it's people that have started either with good backgrounds or not in the best backgrounds. They've gotten stuck on their way and had loads of crossroads. And in lots of cases, most of us have broken down at some point. But guess what? We have every single one of us are now at a stage we have broken through. There's a breakthrough. So we've broken down, we've broken through. And I know that I gave my chapter to a friend of mine to read to see, oh God, am I on the right track? She said, she said, I now want to go back and read your chapter again. And I goes, why? She says, now this is a roadmap for me. It's a roadmap, a step-by-step process. I am you. A step-by-step process for me to go back now and put this into action. Now that's only my chapter, and that's somebody that's relatable to what I'm going through. There will be somebody relatable to every single chapter. As Vivian said, there'll be light bulbs going off, but every single chapter will also have the tips and the actions and the how-to. If you are that person in that situation, how you can also go from breakdown to breakthrough and do all this. And I think that's going to put a smile and, as Vivian said, hope into a lot of people, that there is hope that they can also, if they're in the breakdown stage now, that they will also break through, because 21 of us have done it in one book. It's fantastic.
No, it's absolutely. Give us a little bit of an insight then in terms of, how's writing for you? Do you enjoy the writing process and the creative process?
I'm being honest, right? I write, I train, I do a lot of training and write a lot of syllabus and a lot of education stuff, and I do it quite well. But when I actually did this chapter, I actually struggled. I'm being honest, I struggled slightly. I'm very good at talking and flowing, and words come out very quickly. But when I actually stopped to go and put pen to paper, the flow wasn't as good. So I actually had to use a dictaphone. I actually had to speak it out and then play it back and type it. That's how the process worked for me. I seem to talk, the flow seems to work an awful lot better for me. And what I did is I struggled to see where my personal story could, I've a lot more things I could have said. It would be more, a few books, but I struggled to see, right, okay, how am I going to get this chapter to where it wants to be? So I put structure into it. I asked myself questions that I thought the audience would like to know, and I answered those questions. So that's how I wrote my chapter. But yeah, I find that the talking and putting into a dictaphone is an awful lot better for me. I don't know what Vivian thinks, but it was for me.
Go on, Vivian, give us an insight into your world of creative writing.
So I took a deep breath in and then went and just kept writing and writing and writing. Of course, it didn't help that I never listened properly, and I was told the book had to be in, the chapter had to be in by the 20th of June. It was actually the 20th of July. So by the end of May, I was kind of going, oh my goodness, I've not done anything for that. So I just sat and I just wrote certain experiences that I'd had, and then went back over them and put them into a process. I put them into, a timelined fashion, and then just wrote parts in between that to bridge from where I was to where I had gotten to. There was things in the book that, that I haven't spoken about when I've done my public speaking and stuff, because I've just never had an opportunity to chat about these things. So for me, it was a really empowering process that was like, right, what do I want people to know that they don't already know, but probably have guessed a bit, or that have probably, or that people just need to hear right at this moment in time? And again, I think, in one part of it, I talk about domestic violence, and I talk about, abuse behind doors. And I think, again, because at the timing of this book, a lot of people have got to the end of lockdown, and because of what was going on behind their doors, have kind of went, do you know what, I'm not putting up with this anymore. So for me, I was kind of, as Therese says, it was like, right, what is it that would really benefit if I was reading this book and I knew me? I kind of took like a third person kind of, if I knew of me and knew a bit about me, what else would I want to know? And then, and that was the process that I took. But as I say, I took a deep breath in and just started bashing the keyboard.
And Peachy sent me a message saying, oh, I got the chapter in. And I goes, what? I haven't even started the chapter. It was a month before everybody else. So there you go, Miss Efficiency.
That's great. It's funny how people go early, some people go late, some people use a dictaphone, some people it's hitting the keyboard. It's great, right? It's different things for different people. Just give us a bit of a glimpse, I suppose, Vivian, where you're at in your own journey. You know, we talk about empowerment and where you're at. I mean, where are you at in your life now?
Pete, I'm not a finished article by any manner of means, but you know what? I'm in such a great place right now. I'm very in tune with my body. I think for years we kind of get. I think we kind of get programmed as a kid not to listen to our body. You know, we put our hand up in class to go to the toilet and the teacher says, no, you've only got 10 minutes till break time, you'll wait. So psycho the mind tells soma the body, shh. And then you're at home and you say to your mum, Mum, can I get something to eat? I'm hungry. And your mum's like, you're hungry? It's 4:30. You're getting dinner in half an hour. No, you'll wait. So psycho the mind tells soma the body, shh. And what happens is we start to get delicate and subtle messages from our body that the mind says, ignore that sore back that you have, go shopping, go and visit your gran, get the dog out a walk, get to work and blah, blah. So I think for me, I've really opened up that channel. I've opened up that conversation between the head, the heart and the gut. And I have a really nice coherence between the three of them. And unless the three of them say, yep, Viv, this is what we're going to do, this is what you should do for you, then it's a big no from Viv, I'm afraid, because if life has taught me anything, if I go against the head, the heart or the gut at any point in time, it comes back to bite me on the bum. So that having that lovely pathway between the three of them ensures that there's no bum biting going on in my life these days.
That's a great picture. I love that. A lot of people are imagining teeth marks in buttocks, you know. But
I just made that up on the spot there, Pete, whether you could tell or not.
Very impressed, Vivian.
There you go. There you go. There's your next book title. You know, life's bum bites. You know.
Write that down, Vivian. Write that down.
Avoid the bite or avoid the bum bites. That's a good one, Pete. That I mean, it's a good title.
Yeah, there you go. It's all in the flow process. What about you, Therese? Then, where are you at in your life?
Yeah, I really, in the last 6 months, have closed the doors on one journey and opened the doors to another. So I have been working on my personal development journey for the last 3 to 5 years to kind of conquer my limiting beliefs so I can move forward. And thankfully, at the start of April, I opened up a door to a new journey where I've overcome the fear, overcome the limiting beliefs, and start my own business in business mentoring, project management, and training. Something that it's nothing new. I've been doing this for 25 plus years, but I've always worked for somebody else. And what Vivian was saying there about she's in tune with her body and her mind and everything is synchronized for her now. Actually, something that I really would kind of say has happened to me. One of the key things that's made me start this journey is I realized that when my values get compromised, which they have done in the last couple of years, I didn't realize I had values. Oh, I did realize, but I didn't realize how strong I believed in my values until they were starting to be challenged. And it's then I realized this is when this door has to close and a new journey has opened and I have to work towards my values. So I'd say I'm not as strong as yet as Vivian when it comes to the in tune of the body and mind, but I'm getting there. And one of the key things to help me get there is I've surrounded myself, and this is something I would really say that it's very poignant for me, is I surrounded myself with like-minded, positive people, like the woman who's sitting there in front of you, who's come into my life for the 6 months ago, and I feel like I know her 6 years or more, but by surrounding yourself with like-minded people, it also helps you on your journey. So I'm in a good place. I'm on a nervous, exciting place because I'm starting my own business in the first 6 months, but onwards and upwards, yeah. Onwards and upwards.
You use the term then, just to break it down for people, which is limiting beliefs. Can you describe what that is for people that maybe aren't just used to the terminology?
God, it's something I have struggled with all my life. And actually, to go back with something Vivian said earlier on, I wrote it down. Vivian mentioned the sense of belonging, she said earlier on, and that's something I mentioned in my chapter. I always felt growing up that I didn't have a sense of belonging, and that ate into my limiting beliefs, if that makes any sense. I came from a perfect family. I wanted for nothing, farming background in Wexford, but I was the one member in the family that didn't play sport, and I felt so awkward, and straight away I didn't feel like I belonged, because I was the odd one out, the black sheep, I keep calling myself. I wasn't the popular girl in school. I always felt that for me to belong, I had to be someone else. And as I did all this, my belief system of who Therese was gone. And like, my mother wanted me to go work in the pensionable job in an office. That's not me. I wanted bigger things, but I got all this external influence going, you can't do that, you won't be able to do that, who do you think you are? And all that eats away at you, 100%. So, and then you start believing that you can't do this. You believe in that, sure, who am I to be bigger than anybody else in my family or in the community? If I don't play, I actually remember, and this, I do mention this in my chapter, it was said to me at 13, because I don't play sport, I won't amount to anything, because sport makes the person. And it's something that has stood in my mind all this time. But I always talk about, Vivian hears me talk about the determination box or button in my head. If you tell me I can't do something, oh by God, I'm a Therese, I'm stubborn, I'll do it, you know. So I was determined to find my sport, but my sport was stage. I was on stage from the time I was 16. I've won competitions in Ireland, county, whatever, in reciting. I've been on tops of pantomimes, musicals. I've been on stage for most of my life. And most people think because I do that, I'm very confident. I am on the outside, but by God, for many years inside, I was dying with, oh God, how I have to make these happy. A lot of my lack of self-belief is getting appreciation or recognition from others. I've now realized that from writing this book. I need to have that recognition. And if I don't get that recognition, that eats away my beliefs that I'm not good enough. And all these questions come like a jungle in my mind. And I won't say it's not there still. It's kind of is. Every so often it creeps in, but now I have the techniques and the mechanisms to deal with it. I didn't deal with it when I was younger. I couldn't deal with it when I was younger.
That's so powerful. I think a lot of people are going to resonate with that.
Mm.
Vivian, would you be able to talk to us about beliefs?
Yeah, sure. I mean, your beliefs, between age 0 and 7, we take the blind belief of the world around us and the people who show us that world. We get programmed by their beliefs. We get programmed by the things that the strategies they use and the way they present themselves. But we don't have the cognitive capacity, so we don't have the thinking power to challenge that because our brain isn't developed. We don't have a part of the brain called the critical faculty barrier. And what that means is we don't have morals, we don't know what's right, wrong, good, bad, safe, dangerous. We very rarely go back and challenge the information that's given to us at this point in time. So I think sometimes when we get to the age, 30s, 40s, sometimes 50s, where we kind of go, what's life about? Like, what is, and we do get to that stage, as Therese was saying, the breakdown and the breakthrough, we kind of go, I feel like I'm living someone else's life. And a lot of that, there's lots of research now around epigenetics and how we can pass on generational trauma from the generations before us. And I think that it's just, we do kind of stop and go, right, hang on, what are my beliefs? Or we just continue to go with that constant voice in your head telling you you're not good enough, telling you you're stupid, telling other people are better than you, telling you the world's a dangerous place and you're not safe within it. And it takes real courage and strength to kind of stop and go, right, hang on, what is this? And where is the root cause? Because what tends to happen is we go to the doctors and we get given antidepressants, or we keep going to a therapist constantly thinking that there's something wrong with us. We're good, we're bad, we're mad, we're dangerous, whatever that is, rather than kind of going, where is the root cause of this? And if I can then work with the root cause, and as Therese said earlier, it's generally emotion. It's generally an emotional sticker that is, again, in that event, the meaning, the landscape of the brain, and then the inescapability. And sometimes when we go back and free ourselves from the emotions that we've trapped ourselves within, it just has like that domino effect where the belief we have and the decisions we keep making around that have nothing to base themselves on, so they just fall. So yeah, I think our beliefs, I think it's a really empowering experience to just to explore your beliefs, just to sit down and kind of go, well, what are my beliefs? What are the things that could potentially hold me back? Because see, when we look at them, we'll kind of go, that's not actually my belief. That was my mum's belief. She shared that with me, or that was my dad's belief, or that was my friend's belief at school. Why did I? So yeah, I think beliefs are, until we actually sit down and explore them, then they're almost like that mad chimp again that Therese was talking about. It just runs around inside there the whole time.
How many people, I mean, do people eventually get to find their beliefs and their, empower themselves, do you think? Or do you think it's just something that some people are fortunate enough in life to get to? What's your overall take?
I think some people become so entrenched in that is just how things are, and it's scary. It's really scary, and it means relinquishing control. And there's a great thing, and I studied neurolinguistic programming. I'm a master practitioner, and one of the things that really made a difference for me was the law of requisite variety, which states the person with the most flexibility of behaviour will be the person who holds the most control in any situation. But what tends to happen is people kind of go, no, things need to be like this, and then need to be like that, and need to be like this, because it takes up less bandwidth of their thinking to try and work their way around it. Rather is like, see, when you just give up the need to be right, when you give up the need to control every single aspect of everything, and just allow yourself to be. Now, I keep saying this to Therese. Therese is a human doing. I have never seen a woman like her. For like, she hoovers work up and she has all this stuff done and she has strategies and blah blah. And I'm like, whoa, slow down a bit. Just be, just be. And someone else told her it recently, and she went, "Oh my God, you sound like my friend Vivian." And I think for some of us, we never take that time to just be because we're so busy doing. And I think when we take the time to be, that's when we have the opportunity to go, right, hang on, what is this all about?
So true. And what message would you like people to take away with, when they've gone through the book? What's the core thing you want people to leave with?
Simple, Pete. The magic is within you. Always has been, always will be. You can use the skills and the tools in the life you have right now to get the life that you desire. You just need to stop long enough to decide what that is. So yeah, the magic is within you.
Powerful. And for you, Therese, what's the message?
The magic is within you if you allow yourself to explore the magic within you. So my message is allow yourself, I'm going to contradict, to be. And that's a message to myself. Allow yourself to be. There is hope. Every single one of us have been some sort of struggle that's resonating with everybody out there, and we've all got through it. So learn from us. There is hope. There is light at the end of the tunnel, and allow yourself to be that magic within you.
Well, and for both of you then, I mean, how does it feel to become an author? And it's looking very good for being a sort of certainly a very top selling book as well. So we're looking forward to that. So just what's the feeling on that? How does it feel to be at that stage?
Pete, am I allowed to swear?
Sure, you work away if that's your thing.
Awesome. I am so delighted. I am so delighted. And I think I'm just like, oh my God, I just feel like I'm on the cusp of something big with this. It's just fucking awesome. 2 words.
And for you, Therese?
I'll be more gentle than that, No, do you know what? I have a business head and a business brain, and I have been all my life, but I've been always looking for more. And Vivian has been listening to me the last couple of months, going on, I want to go into the healing world a little bit more. And writing this book and looking at more of a personal side of me, not the business side of me, is kind of made me realize there is more to me in a different world. So I feel flipping fantastic, and to be in a collaboration with some fantastic people like you, Pete, is going to open up doors for all of us, I think. So yeah, it's a great opportunity. Yeah,
fantastic.
Bring on the next book.
That's it. We've started something now. That's what it's all about. So what's the call to action here for you, firstly, Therese? What for people there that are thinking or wondering what all the book's all about? What would you say to them?
Stop wondering and buy. Stop wondering. Start buying. Action it. I just said earlier, allow yourself. So the first step to allow yourself is take the action. So stop wondering and purchase the book. The best thing about purchasing the book now before the 5th of November is that all the pre-profits go to a great charity. So you're not only helping yourself, you're also helping somebody else. So stop wondering and act.
Perfect. And for you, Vivian, what's the call to action here?
Much like today's call to action is buy the book. You just never know what difference it might make to you. It just takes one person's perspective to crumble your whole view on life and to make you kind of go, what if? This is the book to do it. Go buy the book.
Beautiful. Therese, Vivian, it's been an absolute honor to have you on. Thank you so much. And we look forward to the book coming out very shortly. Thank you.
Yay.
Yay.
Thanks, Pete.